Hey there, Geoff Manchester here from iZotope, and in this video, I want to walk you through the latest generation of Nectar. Here we have Nectar 4. This is a comprehensive vocal or spoken dialogue mixing tool that gives you everything you need to really elevate sung or spoken vocals. And in Nectar 4, we have all kinds of new technology and modules to really get you a radio-ready sound quickly and effortlessly. And also, go down to the description or go to iZotope.com and download a trial to follow along with everything that I'm about to show you. I think we should start with the assistant, which has been really improved and implemented visually in a different way here if you're coming from Nectar 3. So now we have our own assistant page. We had one in Neutron, we have one in Ozone, and now Nectar gets one too. So when you first open up the plugin, it's on the screen here, you can see that we have these two tabs. This is a detailed view, and this is the assistant. So in order to get the assistant working, we need to feed it some audio, which I will do right now.
In my mind, I swear there's colors in my mind. At the dive, they're playing Bowie for a dime. Morning bloom, she walks out to get the news.
So after the learning pass, we had a little bit of an animation accompanying the kind of listening that Nectar was doing. We're now onto this page, which gives us broad controls over the tone, compression, effects, and also, if we want, any kind of choral processing. So if we want to add background vocals, we can do that all from this page. And of course, as always, we have our targets over here, which if I click this menu, I can see more of. It identified this vocal correctly as a sung vocal, but if it was rapped, it would be over here in rap. And of course, we have spoken targets, so full, strong, natural, and clear, and we can add our own as well, and I'll be going over this workflow in a moment. But again, it landed us over here on singing and balance. So I can click out of this, and why don't we just take a moment to have a listen to the before and after of this processed vocal before we go and do any additional tweaking here in the assistant page.
In my mind, I swear there's colors in my mind. In my mind, I swear there's colors in my mind. At the dive, they're playing Bowie for a dime. At the dive, they're playing Bowie for a dime.
So what Nectar has done is gone in and listened and then added a balanced overall preset here, which we can then tweak even further. So if I want to, I can adjust the tonal quality, the EQ of the processing here in the detail page with one control, which is called shape. So you can see as I move this from the default 50% all the way over to, let's say, 150%, we're going to see this little kind of circle show up here. And also we're going to see some of the controls in the EQ in the detail page get more pronounced. So right here, this is at 50, but if I move shape all the way over to 150, we see much bigger kind of boosts and attenuations. So you are essentially controlling that EQ from this page. So let's have a listen as we make some moves.
In my mind, I swear there's colors in my mind. At the dive, they're playing Bowie for a dime.
So hopefully you heard at the dive, it sounded a little thin and kind of pinched. And it's because I was really going all the way to the right here with the shape control. And when I brought it back to around where we started at 50%, we got a bit more body back. And so you can just use your ears and tweak some of these controls to your liking until you like what you hear, and then you can stop. Over with intensity, this is going to control the dynamics of the vocal. So what you're toggling here is the threshold of the compressor, which if we go over to the detailed view, it decided an optical compressor with RMS detection was good, minus 18.8 dB at the threshold. If I were to move this up, you'll see we have now minus 26. So minus 18 to minus 26. If I bring it back, it'll go back, and you kind of get the picture there. So if you want a even more kind of dynamically structured vocal, rapped, or spoken piece of content, you can adjust the intensity accordingly. And over here, we have an XY control that lets you control the reverb, that's this circle, delay, and if you want, dimension, which adds phasing, flanging, and chorusing effects on the vocal. I tend to like dimension. I think it works really well for this vocal as well. But you'll notice here that the starting position was over here at the very far left. So we actually have no effects really going on here. So let's play the audio back and then bring in a little bit of the delay and reverb and perhaps the dimension as well. And again, you can listen to all this in real time and see if your changes are helping or hurting whatever it is you're trying to do, whatever your sonic goals are.
I swear there's colors in my mind at the dive. They're playing Bowie for a dime.
I'll actually add dimension.
Morning bloom. She walks out to get the news by the afternoon.
And I can also turn on the shape, intensity, voices, or effects control here just with this little icon. So I can turn it on and off and just audition it real time to see if I like what I'm hearing or not.
In my mind, I swear there's colors in my mind at the dive. They're playing Bowie for a dime.
So one thing I'm hearing is my vocals feel a little bit loud. I could do a little bit of volume curtailing at the track level, or I could just go into my detail view and bring my output slider down a little bit until I like what I hear.
In my mind, I swear there's colors in my mind at the dive.
That feels a bit more in the pocket to me. Now, as we continue to go down here, you'll see that we have width as well. And this is just going to add a stereo widening effect to the vocals. I think I'll see if I like what I hear by toggling this a little bit over here to the right.
In my mind, I swear there's colors in my mind at the dive. They're playing Bowie for a dime.
And of course, you can keep all of your parameters the same and go to a different target to see if it sounds better. And your broad controls with intensity and shape and effects, they're not going to change. You're just going to get different EQ settings over here on the shape side. So if you want, you've come a long way, but let's say you're like, I'm not really sure if I like what I'm doing, go and try a dark preset. And you'll see the curve change here. Let's go to bright.
At the dive, they're playing Bowie for a dime.
Airy.
Morning blue.
In my situation, I'm going to go back to balanced. I just like what I had. Now you'll notice that the voices macro here is turned off by default. We can turn it on if we like. I personally am going to leave it off for this lead vocal, and I will show you a little bit more the module that it is kind of puppet stringing here from the broad controls a little bit later in the video, and that's the voices module here. So you'll see that it's turned off, and the voices module in Nectar has been completely redesigned and improved to be much easier to use. So a little bit more to come on that module a little further on in the video. But for now, what I want to do is get a little before and after to see if the processing has elevated this vocal or sent me in another direction. So let's do a before and after.
In my mind, I swear there's colors in my mind at the dive. They're playing Bowie for a dime. In my mind, I swear there's colors in my mind at the dive. They're playing Bowie for a dime.
So obviously the before was a little bit louder on the vocal side because the vocals are a little loud. But after we brought the plugin in and did our moves for the before and after, the vocals just sound a lot more kind of flush and in the pocket. And I think some of that is owed to the intensity control, which controls the compressor, but also the auto level module, which is brand new and kind of reinvigorated and improved in Nectar. We'll talk more about that later. But also we have a kind of smoothness with the time-based effects, the delay and the dimension, and also the reverb as well. And things just sound a lot more kind of pro and polished to my ears. And I think that hopefully what I've shown you, there's a lot of talking, but you can quickly get a really good sound that's in your head, starting with the assistant, and then you kind of go in and add your own polish to it with some of the modules here. And perhaps you'll be diving into the detailed view to get a little bit more control, but there's quite a bit of control afforded to you just from this page right here. So the next thing I want to talk about is the target system in Nectar 4. So as always, we have some targets that iZotope has built, which are designed for singing, again, rapping or speaking. But if you want to bring in your own target, let's say you have a file on your computer, your hard drive, it's an acapella and it sounds great. And you're like, I want to have this EQ profile and vibe inform what I'm working on in Nectar. You can go down and hit this little plus button here and then call up whatever it is on your hard drive that you like the sound of and just have that be your target that Nectar learns from and you can mix from. This is a workflow that we introduced in Neutron and it's pretty great. But let's say that you don't have a ton of acapellas lying around on your computer and the sound that's in your head is actually out there on a streaming service. You can now use Audio Lens, a streaming service, and Nectar 4 together to go and grab a sound that you really like, just the acapella, by the way, and then have that beamed into Nectar and use that as your custom reference upon which you can build with other modules in Nectar 4. Let me show you how that works. So if I go to Apple Music, which is my streaming service of choice, and let's say that this song here, this Bring Me the Moon track by Iris Loon, is the one that I really like. I like the sound of it. It's got a vocal in there that's kind of, a little hard to hear, but it's very pinched and lo-fi and high-passed. And that's what I want for my session. It sounds like this, by the way. So there's some other stuff in that arrangement, right? There's some kind of like pulsy, synthy, percussion stuff, but the vocal is there, and that's what I like. I can now call up Audio Lens, and you guys might be familiar with this application. It's a desktop app that can take information metadata from any audio on your computer, or in this case, on a streaming service. But what you might not know is that with Nectar 4, we've updated Audio Lens to capture not just an entire track, but only the acapella. So now what we can do is use this app to go and listen to a stereo track on a streaming service and go in between the molecules, so to speak, and just capture the metadata of a sung vocal or a rapped vocal. So what I'll do is play some audio, it's waiting for some, and then capture that profile. So after about 10-15 seconds, I feel like I have a pretty good learning pass. I'll go in and call this Bring Me the Moon, and I'll save it. And now I've got that really nice high-passed vocal that was embedded in a stereo track on Apple Music, and I've just taken the metadata of it and added it as a target here. But when I go back into Logic and then back into my Nectar, you'll see it's beamed that target in here. So you can build a whole collection of targets from Tidal, Apple, whatever streaming service you use. Go in, use that acapella capture feature and just capture the EQ profile and then beam it into Nectar and keep moving. So let's now inform our vocal in the DAW here from this target that we just pulled from Apple Music.
You can keep your space if it...
So I want more of that kind of high-passed pinched sound, so I'll increase the shape here.
You can keep your space if it feels any better.
Add some effects.
But they're closing up the bar. Should we just
Widen it a little.
here together?
I think it's compressed enough. I'm not going to do too much with intensity.
You can keep your space.
Let's just check the level.
Feels any better? But they're closing up the bar. Should we just leave here together? You can keep your space if it feels any better.
Cool. So here's before.
You can keep your space if it feels any better. You can keep your space if it feels any better.
And just for reference, here's the track that we borrowed from. So that's the process of capturing a cappella targets from a streaming service with Audio Lens and then throwing them into Nectar for further processing for whatever it is you're working on. Okay, so the next module that I want to talk about is the auto level module, which you can find in the detail view by clicking over here, and you'll see it over here on the left. It's a very small and unassuming but mighty module that's designed to make it so that you can regulate loudness automatically without having your compressors work too hard or without having you to go in with a pencil tool and further tweak the clip gain after you've done all your vocal processing. It sits ahead of any processing in Nectar. So before you add EQs, compression, or whatever, it's sitting there hugging and controlling the level so that all the other processing downstream doesn't have to work as hard to regulate the loudness. So we're in a different session now because I think this session better illustrates the power of auto level module. And what I'll first do is toggle it off. I'll leave the de-esser on. This vocal is a little sibilant. Nectar's de-esser takes care of it. And just have a listen to the loudness fluctuations in this piece of audio.
You've got your reasons for giving up. It's the same old situation with your dumb luck. You spend all your time hanging on.
So you can see just at a waveform level, when she says her last bit here on, it gets a little quiet. Over here at the beginning,
You've got your
there's a kind of guttural like g, and that really hits the meter. It gets loud. And reasons is kind of quiet.
You've got your reasons for giving up.
Giving up is also a little quiet. So this is quite a dynamic piece of audio, and your job as a mix engineer, certainly with a vocal, is really to smooth out that vocal so that no one has to reach. I don't know why it's on my belt. No one has to reach for that volume, control on their phone or whatever, because something is jumping out of place and kind of hurting the ears. So what I'll do is go over here to Nectar 4 and we'll turn auto level on, and I will engage a learn pass, and this is going to allow auto level to regulate the level for you based on whatever it is that's happening on the track. So you don't have to go in and dial in the settings. It's just going to intelligently listen and then set some things for you, which of course you can tweak further.
You've got your reasons for giving up. It's the same old situation with your dumb luck. You spend all your time hanging on.
So before I get into the controls, I want to show you just how much this vocal has improved at a dynamic level with the before and after. And to do that, I'm going to bounce in place so you can really hear the difference and see the difference as well especially in the problem spots that we identified. So I'll just bounce in place. So below, we have our bounced auto level module vocal, and above, we have the before, the one that didn't have any auto level on it. I'll turn Nectar off up here, and here's the before. Listen and look at what you're seeing here.
You've got your reasons for giving up. It's the same old situation with your dumb luck. You spend all your time hanging on.
That time is very loud. It gets quiet over here. We have that guttural jump when she's forming a word there. You've got your reasons. And now let's listen to the auto level module version.
You've got your reasons for giving up. It's the same old situation with your dumb luck. You spend all your time hanging on.
No compression at all, but this has been smooth thanks to the ballistics in the auto level module. And now I know my compressor is not going to be working too hard downstream. I can add other stuff on top that might raise the body of the audio, but those kind of guttural sounds and jumps in level from certain words aren't going to come up as well because we've done a lot of smoothing to this vocal automatically with the auto level module. Let's now get into some of the ballistics and controls in the auto level module so you understand how it works and can maybe tweak it in case it's not doing quite exactly what you want it to do. So when I click on this button, we get some additional controls. Tame noises, range, strength, and even sidechain. But first I want to talk about what's happening in this little box here at a visual level and also mix and what this slider represents. So we know that the learning pass is great for listening to the overall level and setting some parameters for you. What this is going to control is the overall level in decibels. So if I determine that it's still a bit too quiet at the end of the day after the leveling, I can bring it up closer to the ceiling or bring it down. It's totally up to you. -8 is its kind of default, but of course after the learning pass, I think it was closer to around -18 or so. Over here in the trace, you can see the gain kind of controlling things positively and negatively, boosting, cutting, working things so that you arrive at around -18.6 decibels of overall loudness before the rest of the processing takes over. So take a look now at the plus and negative numbers as the vocal kind of streams across and auto level module does its work.
You've got your reasons for giving up. It's the same old situation with your dumb luck. You spend all your time hanging on. You've got your reasons for giving up.
So you'll notice that at the beginning of her sentences that she's singing, we're seeing more negative, more minus, more kind of control. And then at the end, when she finishes her passages, we start to see the plus button. I know it happens pretty quickly, but it's neat to see that when she runs out of breath and energy, auto level module increases the gain and just boosts her a little bit at the end of those sections. But when she's singing and doing most of her kind of vocalizing, we're cutting and making sure that things are nice and controlled. If I want to change the amount by which that gain is traveling and reducing or controlling the audio, then that's range's job. So we have here a 6 decibel range, 6 plus or 6 negative of travel, if you will, of control. So that's quite a bit of control. But if I want even more, I could boost it up so that I have 12 dB up or down of volume control. So that's quite a bit of volume control. Or I can bring it all the way down to something more conservative, like 2, and that's just a very small amount of travel to hug and control the audio. If I option click on this gauge, we were back at 6, so now we have 6 up or 6 down of control, which is pretty modest and why we have it here at the default level. Now the strength, if we move this up, we're going to be getting much faster ballistics controlling the level. If I bring it down, we're going to be a bit more relaxed with the attack and release, if you will, controls of auto level module, and it's not going to be kind of quickly cutting things or boosting things depending on what you have your parameters set to over here. If you want even more control, you can adjust the mix parameter to just blend in a little bit of the unleveled signal with the leveled signal. So there's quite a bit of tweakability contained within this very small auto level module. We also have sidechain. So if I want to have the level of my track informed by the level of another track, I just hit sidechain, and now what it's going to be doing is listening to whatever external source I have and having that instruct the leveling structure of auto level mode. We also have this tame noises control here, which is really, really interesting. So what this is going to do is instruct auto level module to ignore any noise, so anything that's not tonal in a sung or spoken vocal. So what are some examples of noisy material? Could be breaths, could be sibilants, could be kind of guttural articulations or just like mouth stuff that's happening. Those things, if they're let into the gain structure that auto level mode is trying to kind of regulate, could end up, boosting things or cutting things in a dramatic way. And what this tame noises feature does is say, I don't want you to involve sibilants, any harsh sounds into the gain structure. I want you to leave those things alone because they're not tonal. And this way, they don't end up affecting the gain structure positively or negatively. And you can check to see if noises are truly being ignored by first making sure this little dial is on and then using the ear icon to see if it's listening and then ultimately ignoring those noisy things in a vocal performance.
It's a
So just to be extra careful here that I'm explaining this in the right way, it's not going to turn noises down. It's just going to make sure they don't get involved in the overall loudness structure that auto level module is trying to create for you. If you were to include those, you can just toggle this off. You might notice some fluctuations that don't result in a very smooth overall loudness structure because those strident, noisy things can sometimes force the auto level module to work a little harder or kind of go and catch something and bring it down in a way that, again, results in a not so smooth and dynamically controlled performance. So it's up to you if you want to turn it on or off. I always leave it on. And as you can see, it's very intelligently listening for and keeping those things out of the gain structure. And as you saw in the What's New video, this module and Nectar in general is not just for sung vocals, it's for spoken stuff. So a podcast or YouTube video dialogue, auto level module can go in just the same, whether it's spoken or sung, and control the dynamic kind of structure of the program material so that you have a nice smooth vocal and the compressor doesn't have to work too much harder to kind of keep things under control for spoken dialogue as well. What I want to talk about now is a totally improved module that folks who are maybe on Nectar 3 or 2 might know as the Harmony module. It's now been called the Voices module, and here it is. Now, I'm not going to go into every single feature of this very deep tool. Instead, what I want to do is show you at a broad level some of the controls that you can use to get set up for success if you're trying to add artificial copies of a vocal that is in your production session, and you just want to lift things and provide a nice choral background to whatever it is that you're working on. So to that end, the first place you have to start here is setting the key. Now, I know the key is E major, but let's say I didn't know that the key was E major. Nectar is smart enough to be able to detect that. So what I'll do is play some audio and press the detect button. E major in the center.
Won't you give me all
I'll click it and press the check mark. Great. So that is really the key to getting everything else set up for success in the Voices module. So once we have the key figured out, the next part is register. It's automatically set to medium, which I like. This isn't a baritone voice or a super high voice. Medium works for me. We are now going to be able to move through the Voices module with a lot of success again, because as long as the key is correct, everything else is going to lock to that and you'll be good to go. So I'll turn the module on. And the first part I want to talk about is this main section here. Now from here, we can choose either static interval styles or automatic interval styles. With static interval styles, we're talking about static harmonic intervals. So unison, parallel, thirds, that kind of thing. We also have automatic interval styles, which gets us more in the territory of dynamic harmonies, which means stuff like, if I mouse over here, moody, uplifting, lush, close, closer, happy, sad. And all of this is designed to get you a really great sounding result without knowing that much about voice leading or music theory. So what you can do after you've chosen E major here is just mouse through the options and see if you like what you hear. And if you do, you can tweak it further or just set it and forget it. So why don't we do that? We have E major set. I'm going to go through first the static interval styles and then the automatic interval styles.
Give me all your love, give me all your love, give me all your love. Won't you give me all your love, give me all your love, give me all your love.
And I can also press this up arrow or down arrow to change the register according to the, in white here, main vocal. So now my harmonies are higher up or further down depending on which arrow I press. So let's hear the same octave structure, but I'll go up in register.
Give me all your love, give me all your love, give me all your love.
And here's down.
Won't you give me all your love, give me all your love, give me all your love. Give me all your love, give me all your love, give me all your love. Won't you give me all your love, give me all your love, give me all your love. Give me all your love, give me all your love, give me all your love.
So now we're getting into more dynamic
Won't you give me
harmonies.
all your love, give me all your love, give me all your love. Give me all your love, give me all your love, give me all your love. Won't you give me all your love, give me all your love, give me all your love. Give me all your love, give me all your love, give me all your love.
And if in the course of this auditioning of different structures, what you want to do is just hear those harmonies and ignore the main vocal that has audio in your session, just click this solo button.
Give me all your love, give me all your love, give me all your love.
So that's super handy, and it'll come in even handier later when I build my own structure, which I'll show you how to do in just a moment. But for now, I just want to say that if none of these clusters interest you and you have a pretty good idea of what you want and maybe even some music knowledge, you can go into MIDI and then choose a configuration that works for you based on your fingers and a MIDI keyboard. And if you're not really sure how the routing works, click on this little question mark icon and we'll give you a 4-step process that's based on the DAW that Nectar knows you're using. So in this case, we're using Logic, but if I was using Pro Tools or Studio One, it'll know and give you setup specific options for that digital audio workstation. So we'll just close out of this. Now, going back to auto mode here, for a little bit more tailoring of the sound, we have some options over here like filter, so we can just filter out the high end or just filter out the low end or both with these filter options, and further tweak the gain of the low and high over here. We can control at a global level with an XY pad the speed of the adjusting of the pitch and the amount to which they're adjusted over here with this nice little honeycomb grid. And I can also change the time and pitch controls down here as well. So there's a ton of customization for those that really want to go in and customize their pitched copies of the main vocal. So one thing I want to do is show you how to create your own custom harmonic structure here. I'm going to go back all the way to unison. So we have our main vocal in white over here and our extra little harmonies. So if I have a sense of what I want, I can actually just unsolo this and build a harmonic structure in real time against the actual mix, which I'll do now. And what I'll do is hit my little pencil icon, and now I can add harmonies below and above my main vocal over here with these plus buttons. And you'll see we get these 3rd, 5th, 7th options for you to control and choose. So I'm just going to listen back and talk and make some choices as I make my, my nice big chorus even more chorusy. So let's make some choices. I'll hit my pencil tool and then get to work. So now I want to choose a harmony below my main vocal here in white. So I can choose a unison below. There we go. For this one, I can choose, if I want to, an 8th above. Let's hear how that sounds. I can click on this to choose something else, double click, and let's do 4th. Sounds good. Let's do another 8th above, octave. And another one for good measure. Won't you give me all your love, give me all your love, give me all your love. I can just solo the harmonies. So that sounds good, but I want to mix a little bit, and I can do that with this really handy visual mixer, which allows me to customize the panning structure and level structure. By going left to right, I'm panning things left or right in the stereo field. By moving them up or down, I'm changing their gain to either be louder or quieter. This little white dot, again, the white is the source track that has audio in your digital audio workstation. This is going to be here. It's going to be fixed. We can't move it. But what we can do is kind of crowd our main vocal with our artificial harmonies from the voices module and do it all in real time. So you'll see that as I move certain copies around, their respective panning, gain, and other kind of controls here will move with the moves that I make. So this will make much more sense if I just get into work here and do this. Give me all your love, give me all your love, give me all your love. Okay, so I'm happy with the panning and the level, but what I would like to do is go to the assistant page and just further tweak things from these broad controls to really mix in and get these artificial copies from voices in the pocket. So I'll do that now. Give me all your love, give me all your love, give me all your love. Time-based effects, bring dimension in. Widen things a bit more. Now I'm going to go over and just adjust the output so that everything is nice and loud. Give me all your love, give me all your love, give me all your love. A bit of delay. Won't you give me all your love, give me all your love, give me all your love. Cool. Now let's do one big before and after with and without our voices. So here's without. And here's with. And there we go. So it's pretty easy to create custom style or pre-configured harmonic configurations and then tweak things to taste using some of the controls afforded to you in the Voices module. Now, there's a lot more to cover, but I just wanted to show you how to get up and running and create really nice kind of, singers behind the main vocal that just add life and vitality to whatever it is you're trying to kind of beef up in your mix with some harmonies. So finally, I wanted to talk about the backer module, which is probably one of the zaniest pieces of DSP we've ever built at iZotope. And what it's designed to do is create a truly artificial, with a capital A, personality that can sing over top and within someone else's audio. So, for example, we have a session here where I have a singer whose name is Emma, very talented. And if I take Nectar off this vocal, you'll hear the harmony that she sang in order to blend in with a lead vocal that she also sang. So she sang it a little bit lower.
When we sing together, it's like we were never alone. We want to forever believe our music.
That sounds fine, and if you pair it with the original melody, it sounds like this.
Again, when we sing together, it's like we were never alone. We want to
Which is fine, but if you want to make it so that it doesn't sound like you singing with yourself, that's where the backer module comes in. You can choose from 8 personas. You can even sample someone else's vocal out there and add that as long as you have the audio. And then you can have that backer persona built in. But the 8 that we've created are all pretty varied and interesting in their own right. So in this situation, what I've done is I've added Alex as the new persona that is going to accompany Emma. And I can blend in the extent to which Alex takes over and the original Emma goes away with this blend control. I can alter the tone, the formant, and pitch things up -12, keep them 0, or go up 12 semitones. In this case, it sounded pretty good, up 12 semitones and blended at about 50%. So once again, here's before.
When we sing together, it's like we were never alone. We want.
And here's with the new persona, Alex.
When we sing together, it's like we were never alone. We want to.
Let's bring the original Emma melody in.
Believe our music will ring where green things grow. We know it'll fade, so we sing ever stronger, fill up our hearts with home.
We have actually placed backer modules across a ton of harmonies, which, when they're all playing together, sound something like this.
Again, when we sing together, it's like we were never alone. We want to forever believe our music will ring where green things grow.
So again, just to drive the point home, I'm now on the Ian track, and if I remove Nectar's backer and the entire module from the track, we can hear what it sounded like before.
When we sing together, it's like we were.
So let's bring Johnny in now.
We
Want to forever believe our music will ring where green things grow. We know
We can bring him down.
it'll fade, so we sing ever stronger, fill up our hearts with home.
Again, it might sound pretty zany on its own, but once you bring in a whole bunch of other harmonies, you can create this really rich tapestry of personas that make it sound like you're singing with a bunch of people who are not in any way related to you and don't have the same kind of, vocal cords or register that you do. So the last thing that I want to talk to you about here is the addition of component plugins in Nectar for the advanced SKU. So I can go in here and you can now see in the iZotope category, the auto level module is its own module. So now we get Nectar auto level module in one component plugin. So if you want to use just the auto level module and then a bunch of other tools by iZotope or any other company, you can do that. The same goes for that voices module that I showed you earlier. So I can go into iZotope and I can choose voices. And now we have untethered from that mothership, just the voices module. So you can now create crazy chains of effects and combine things together in ways that you couldn't before. Another great example is the EQ in Nectar. It has exclusively that EQ follow processing. I'll show you what that looks like. So I can bring up the EQ over here. And when I move one of the nodes around and open this partition, I have this frequency follow option. And now what's going to happen is it's just going to follow. I'm just going to mute all the other processing I have here. It's just going to follow one of the harmonics that I instructed to follow.
Again, when we sing
The fundamental right here.
it's like we were never alone. We want to forever.
So you now have the ability to really customize your signal chains and break out the Nectar component plugins into totally creative signal paths, totally up to you. And that is one of the brand new things as well in Nectar 4. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that now you have a better understanding of how to harness the tools and new DSP and technology in Nectar 4 to really elevate whatever it is you're working on that is associated with sung, rapped, or spoken vocals. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.